Okay, so this is the lecture 7 that we were discussing this singular value decomposition in the last class. Today we have to understand that in detail. It is not very difficult. You just have to understand that any matrix can be decomposed into 3 matrices which are of our interest. And when we decompose them into 3 matrices, then it becomes possible for us to solve many complicated problems. That is the thing. So we discussed these problems in the last class. For example, calculating the pseudo inverse, solve homogeneous linear equations, low rank matrix approximation, signal processing, image processing, big data. So SVD is used in all of these applications. Okay? And the main intention is to eliminate the less important data. Like in the training data of machine learning, we know that everything is not important. Okay? So we try to approximate through machine learning model, but before that we do dimensionality reduction, feature selection, जिसका आप लोगों को assignment में दिया हुआ है. ठीक है. So to produce a low dimension approximation, that's always possible. Even if you have image data, speech data, normal database, it's the same thing. Okay? So for images, it is image compression and recommendation system में इस वजह से लिखा हुआ है क्योंकि recommendation system के अंदर जो product की जो definitions हैं, that's quite long. So to recommend something to a user, I don't need to have information about all his demographics and all the products he's browsing. So I can have a reduced set of representation and I can recommend based on that. Okay? Achha, ab, so this is something I took from some place. This is a very good explanation. So imagine that we have the matrix A consisting of m rows and n columns. क्या हुआ खैरियत? हाँ? अच्छा. Consisting of m rows and n columns. ठीक है? So that's like it is n-dimensional matrix. ये तो clear है? So that's it. So I will decompose that into 3 matrices which are typically called U, summation, and V. This is the general notation that you will see in all the explanations of SVD. U, summation, and V. Okay. We also saw this in the last class that we were trying to approximate this by A equals to S into V transpose. Okay, and we saw that we were decomposing each vector in 2 dimensions. We saw that image, we'll see that again right now. But first, I think we should go through this explanation. Okay, so A equals to U summation into V transpose. Okay, so now the dimensions of each matrix is given. Obviously, we have to ensure that when I multiply these 3 matrices, then I get M into N, and that is easily ensured. So R here is the rank of the matrix. And we know how to compute the rank of the matrix, right? How do we compute it? Rank? कोई याद है सर? हाँ, so अभी I don't recollect. चीजें mix हो रही हैं, but it's a very simple formula. ठीक है, we can compute the rank of the matrix. I think it has to do something with the echelon form. First we compute that, and the number of rows which are non-zero, that is the rank of the matrix. ठीक है? बहरहाल चलो rank हम निकाल सकते हैं इसका. That's absolutely not a problem. ठीक है? So U M into R is the dimension of this one. The rows remain the same, and the R becomes the rank. So here R is basically the concept. How many concepts I am basically using for this matrix A. So we'll see an example right now. Okay? Sigma is simply the diagonal matrix. Diagonal matrix means that the values exist only on the diagonal. The rest are all zero. Okay? And V is N into R, where N is obviously the number of columns which are here. And V is the basically transpose. Okay? So U and V are called singular matrices, and they are orthonormal to each other. They are orthogonal, so they are at 90 degrees to each other. So you see when we have the principal components, the principal components that we find out, they are all of them are orthogonal to each other. So basically, U and V are principal components, but we don't refer to them directly like that in this case. You just remember that U and V are basically orthonormal. So they are at 90 degrees to each other, and it's the same case. Okay. And the summation sign is the identity matrix. So A is the input matrix. For example, I can have M documents. I have 1000 documents and I have n keywords, the number of columns. So उसका एक matrix है जो ये बता रहा है कि हर row में कौन-कौन से keywords आ रहे हैं, उसमें 1 होगा, for the other keywords it will be 0. So it's going to be a Boolean matrix here. सही है? Is this thing clear? So U is called the left singular vector or the singular matrix. It's an M into R matrix consisting of M documents and R concepts. So singular value decomposition में I am basically trying to discover concepts about my data, and this is always the case. आप कोई भी training data ले आए, you can find, for example, in an image, the different things in the image can be the different concepts. There's a car and there's a traffic light and there are clouds, for example. So you can have 5 to 6 different images, concepts. Then sigma is the singular, or the summation is the singular values. So this matrix will contain the singular values. इसको sigma से हम represent करते हैं, sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3. ठीक है? तो इसकी भी हम तफसील अभी देखते हैं. It's a diagonal matrix which represents the strength of each concept. कि इस data के अंदर, for example, which concept is most strong? For example, if it is data about the, let's say, online banking. So the concept of money transfer will be the most, is the strongest concept because many people are doing it. Followed by the concept of, let's say, just checking the balance, followed by the concept of paying the bills, etc., etc. So this matrix is going to tell you the strength of each concept. And V is called the right singular. So that is the left one and that is the right one. And singular is we call it singular because these are, we call them the singular values. So left singular and right singular. So that's the N into R matrix, N terms and R concepts. R concepts already we know. R is basically the rank of the matrix. So I hope that this notation is pretty clear. M into N equals to M into R into R into R into N into R. So if you multiply these three matrices, definitely you're going to get this one. So nothing about that. So this example देख लेंगे तो आपको और आसानी होगी. So this is just, M into N equals to, this is U, M into R into R into R into R into N. It's just a simple representation. So this is pretty long and that is pretty wide. Wide and small and long and tall. Right? And this is the medium guy here in the center. So always we always have this notation for the decomposition. And each one of these components has its own usage. So it was basically a dimensionality reduction technique, like PCA and LDA and DSNE and all the other things. And this is one other way to write that, but I will just suggest not to go into that thing right now. So it is always possible to decompose a real matrix A into A equals to U summation Vt, where U summation V are unique, U and V are column orthonormal, and U to U, this is the identity matrix notation. Columns are orthogonal unit vectors. This is the diagonal matrix. Entries are called singular values and they're all positive. So this matrix is the diagonal matrix and it's going to contain the singular values only on the diagonal, and they are basically sorted in descending order. So मैंने आपको कहा था कि U represents the matrix of concepts. So the concepts in this is represented by कितने concepts हैं जितना rank of the matrix है. सही है. So rank of matrix is as many concepts, and the strength of each concept is given by this matrix, which is a diagonal matrix. So the strongest concept is going to be at the top, followed by the second one, followed by the third one. उसकी example अभी देख लेते हैं, ठीक है? So they are all, none of them is negative, all of them are positive values, and they are all sorted like this. Okay? So we'll see the example, then it will become clear. So this is the example of movies. So let's say कि I have these users 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6. I have 7 users and they have given their rating for 5 movies. Okay, so I have 7 users and they are given a rating of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, for example, on these 5 movies. Okay, and now I want to find out the singular value decomposition of this matrix. सही है? Clear? सही है ना? So ये users हैं and these are the ratings. So the first guy likes Matrix, Alien, and Serenity. Not very much. ठीक है? More than these two, which he has given rating 0. The second guy likes these three normally. This guy likes these 3 movies much more. And this guy absolutely loves these movies, and so on and so forth, depending on क्या है. तो 5 हम समझ रहे हैं कि maximum rating है. ठीक है? So now we have to decompose this into this. Now what can be the potential concepts in this data? क्या concepts हो सकते हैं? As far as the movies database is concerned, what can be the concepts of movies? What can be the concepts of cars? Like you can talk about the types, like a sports car, family car, station wagon. All of these are concepts about cars. Yeah, concepts about humans can be their characteristics. Concepts of movies can be the type of movies. Okay, so let's see. So let's assume कि अब ये कैसे कैलकुलेट हुआ, वो एक बहुत लंबी कहानी है. ठीक है, वो भी बाद में आएगी. ठीक है, तो let's assume कि I find out these. ठीक है, so how many concepts I have? 3 concepts. How do you know? हाँ, तो this m into n equals to m into r, where r is the number of concepts. So I have 3 columns r, so r is 3 concept into 3 into 3 into 5 into 3. That's the. तो अगर आप इन तीनों को मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, exactly you are going to get this matrix. सही है? Clear? So this is singular value decomposition. So now my job, given a matrix, my job is exactly to calculate these 3 matrices. सही है? So these are basically the eigenvalues or a transformation of these. First I calculate the eigenvalues, then I calculate the eigenvectors. So when I have this matrix, then I can calculate either this one or this one. तो ज़्यादा अच्छा trend ये, पहले आप summation matrix estimate कर लें, which is very simple. Then from that estimate this, and from these two then estimate this. It's simple. It's not very difficult. 2-3 बस चीजें बीच में हैं जो मुश्किल है, लेकिन I don't think so कि I'm gonna give this in the exam. I'm just gonna ask basic concepts about the calculations. It takes a long time basically. ठीक है? पर let's see. तो अब इसके अंदर we assume कि the movies have 3 concepts, and what is highlighted here? ये डार्क क्या हुआ है? What do you mean by this? हाँ, अब ये देखें, the number of people has not decreased here, right? Okay? I got 7 people here, I got 7 people here. So yeah, the largest values. What does this mean? The first guy, पहला जो बंदा है उसको concept 1 he likes it the most. For example, if this could be the sci-fi movies. So I mean these are all sci-fi movies, right? ये तो मुझे याद है, बाकी तो मुझे कुछ भी पता नहीं है. sci-fi movies. So ये पहला बंदा, अब you can see also from here 3 3 3 4 4 4 5 5 5, उसके हिसाब से ये भी ranks इसके number update हो रहे. So the first 4 guys are loving the sci-fi movies a lot, ठीक है? And these two, the last 3 guys are loving the second concepts more than the first concept. I think this is negative here. So I think it depends on the magnitude. Yeah, so it depends on the magnitude. I got 2 here, 4 4 5 5 2 2 as compared to 1. So yeah, so it depends on the magnitude, not the number, not the sign. So the जितना ज़्यादा magnitude है, that demonstrates their liking for that concept. But जो भी है, what does this tell? Let's say कि sci-fi, horror, or I don't know, normal life, whatever जो भी है, ठीक है? तो ये क्या रिप्रेजेंट करता है? नहीं मैं आइगन वैल्यूज तो है यार, इंटरप्रिटेशन पूछ रहा हूं, आई एम आस्किंग अबाउट द इंटरप्रिटेशन, द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ ईच कॉन्सेप्ट, द स्ट्रेंथ. So in this matrix, what is the strongest concept? The sci-fi, because it has the highest value, and they're always going to be served, followed by horror, followed by our civic problems या जो भी है जैसा, तो वो तो किसी को इतना कंसर्न नहीं होता, ठीक है. And now this one is called movie to concept. This is user to concept. किस यूजर को क्या concept? Strength of concept multiplied by movie to concept. So movies, how many movies I have? Yeah, so I have 3 concepts. So concept 1, concept 2, concept 3. ठीक है? And I have 5 movies. So concept 1 is strongest in the first 3 movies. ठीक है? वो तो लाजमी बात है कि you can see here कि all of these 3 are the sci-fi movies. So पहला concept जो है, that is the strongest in the first 3 movies. ठीक है? The second concept is the strongest in Casablanca and Amelie. Okay, and similarly for the third concept is a bit hazy. So it is strongest for Alien and I don't know. In any case, you get the general idea. You just try to understand the idea. Okay, the number of concepts is defined by the rank of this matrix. The rank of this matrix can be computed by the matrix, the row reduced echelon form of this matrix. ठीक है, उसका कैलकुलेटर आपको ऑनलाइन मिल जाएगा. You don't need to compute the row reduced form because it takes a long time. So based on that, the rank of the matrix is equal to the number of concepts which are in this movie database or जोन सा भी database हो, it does not matter. So we are basically approximating any matrix or any training data of machine learning by the rank of unique. We are approximating any data by a limited number of concepts. That's the thing. क्योंकि rank of the matrix कोई हजारों में तो नहीं जाएगा ना. There are just going to be a few concepts that we can learn from that, and that is also what we want to do in machine learning. We want the machine learning model to get the most fundamental data in that training matrix and use that to make the prediction. Because why do we want to do that? Because everything in the training data is not a revelation. It's just recorded by us human beings, and there are lots of errors, as we have already seen in data wrangling. So we need to clean it. One cleaning is to remove the missing values and all those things जो कि आप लोग उसको आप जानते हैं किस तरह करना है. The other cleaning is this, which is dimensionality reduction. Okay, just get those focal things on which I can base my predictive model, learn the predictive model and use the model to make the prediction. अगर मैं predictive model कहूँगा कि सारी चीजें तुम्हारे लिए जरूरी हैं, तो it's gonna take a long time and there will be overfitting or underfitting. ये हो ही नहीं सकता कि नॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग डेटा, कॉर्पोरेट ट्रेनिंग डेटा हो और आप फीचर सिलेक्शन या डीआर किए बगैर आप आगे चले जाएं. I don't think that's possible. You have to do it, and it's not just FS कि आपने random, क्योंकि we have worked with the random forest feature selection and all those things. I mean, everything does not work in every situation. These approaches I think are more robust than the current approaches. So you have to try out at least कि वो क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा. ठीक है, पर ठीक है, I think this concept is now clear कि m into r into r into r into n into r. That is how these matrices are computed. ठीक है, is this thing clear? जी.
सर लेकिन ट्रेनिंग में जो है हम रिड्यूस्ड फॉर्म तो नहीं यूज करेंगे ट्रेनिंग में.
देखें, अगर आप if you are applying PCA, then you will just use the principal components as the columns. Ditto for LDA. LDA में भी तो वही हो रहा है. They're just finding the principal components. So if I have like maybe 20 columns in my training data, I can just input 3 columns.
जैसे मैंने एक डेटा सेट देखा था क्या कहते हैं वो क्रेडिट कार्ड. तो क्रेडिट कार्ड का डेटा चूंकि पर्सनलाइज्ड उसके अंदर फील्ड थी, तो उन्होंने इस तरह नहीं शो किया था बल्कि V1
एनोनिमाइज था. जी मैं देखा होगा.
मतलब वो PCA फॉर्म में कर दिया था.
It's not PC. I think they just change the column names.
सर वो स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड बाकायदा सर वेक्टर फॉर्म में
पीसीए फॉर्म में तो सही नहीं है, बिकॉज यू नीड टू नो कि प्रिंसिपल कंपोनेंट्स कौन से पहले आए हैं, कौन से बाद में आए हैं, फर्स्ट कौन सा है, सेकंड कौन सा है।
तो ऑर्डर उसी ऑर्डर नहीं होता है ना, जो पहला वेक्टर है
अगर उन्होंने मेंशन किया तो ऐसा ही है, क्योंकि दिस इज अ रैंगलिंग स्टेप, दे आर नॉट सपोज्ड टू डू दैट देमसेल्व्स। ये तो डाटा साइंटिस्ट के ऊपर है, और ये क्लासिफिकेशन प्रॉब्लम है, तो इट शुड बी एलडीए। पीसीए तो इसमें नहीं चलेगा, एलडीए चलाना चाहिए। क्लासिफिकेशन है ना, एलडीए, वी हैव टू यूज एलडीए बिकॉज इट केटर्स फॉर द लेवल।
सर पीसीए करने के बाद जो
आई थिंक उन्होंने, सॉरी मैं आपकी बात कर रहा हूँ, उन्होंने डेटा नॉर्मलाइज, दे मस्ट हैव नॉर्मलाइज द डेटा between -1 and 1. They I don't think so they did the principal components and gave you all the principal components. मेरा नहीं ख्याल, उन्होंने नॉर्मलाइजेशन करके दे दी होगी ताकि डेटा एनोनिमाइज हो जाए। That's what they must have done. That's the only way, right? You normalize कर देंगे तो it's gone.
सर यूजुअली ये तो कोई स्टेप नहीं होता ना कि हम पीसीए करें और फिर उसको ट्रेन करें।
देखें क्यों नहीं होता स्टेप? If I have 20 columns, even if I have 15 columns, I would never want to use 15 columns in a regression problem. Why not 3? Why not 4 or 5? And when I know when I can capture the variance along orthonormal vectors, so why don't we go for it?
हम
reduce करके देखिए, अभी हम एक डेटा सेट पे काम कर रहे हैं, वो नफीसा के साथ काम चल रहा था हॉस्पिटल में। तो we had 500 columns in the data, and we are always trying to bring it down and down and down and down and down. यानी तकरीबन 5 से 10 कॉलम्स के साथ, that's it, रिग्रेशन या क्लासिफिकेशन। अनलेस डीप लर्निंग तो इट्स खुलम दरवाजा खुला हुआ है, जितने भी फीचर्स लाने ले आओ, क्योंकि वो अंदर टैकल हो जाते हैं। डीप लर्निंग तो है ही फीचर सिलेक्शन, कॉन्वोल्यूशन और वो सारी चीजें, इट इज फीचर। तो मशीन लर्निंग में वी हैव टू डू इट अर्लियर ऑन। If you can get 2 to 3 variables which approximate all the 25 columns, वो बेहतर है। Otherwise वो overfitting, underfitting, overfitting, underfitting।
रन टाइम पे सर जब डेटा आएगा तो किस तरह प्रोवाइड करेंगे?
रन टाइम पे तो देखें, रन टाइम जो डेटा आएगा, टेस्टिंग डेटा, लाइव टेस्टिंग, you have to pass it through the same wrangling procedure as the training data। कि इसको इस तरह क्लीन करो, फिर इसको इस तरह डायमेंशन रिडक्शन करो, इतने कंपोनेंट्स निकालो, वो कंपोनेंट्स इनपुट करो। That's it। In the training phase, you will discover all the wrangling steps, and you will write the automated script for that and use that at live testing। उस वक्त थोड़ी करेंगे सारी चीजें डिस्कवर। हाँ, अगर आपने, if you have to update a deployed model, then you should have some mechanism कि after 1 week you see कि how is my accuracy decreasing or increasing throughout the week। So if you see कि things are going bad, then that means it's time to update the model। टिपिकली हर रात को मॉडल अपडेट होना चाहिए, बिकॉज कस्टमर हु इज रिलायबल, कस्टमर्स आर नेवर रिलायबल, कभी कुछ कर रहे होते हैं, कभी कुछ कर रहे होते हैं। तो मॉडल शुड गेट अपडेटेड विद डेली डेटा, उसकी अलग स्ट्रेटजीज हैं वो फिर ये ठीक है। पर आई थिंक दिस थिंग इज क्लियर है, ठीक है। आगे हाँ, ये यार ये असल में सॉरी अबाउट दैट, ये आई नीड टू द लाइट्स आर ऑफ करें। आई डोंट नो वेदर दिस लाइट विल वर्क हियर। It's a bit better। So let's say कि A is this matrix. I'm just telling you the example in the most simplest possible manner। ठीक है। So A 3 2 2 and 2 3 minus 2, that's the matrix, and you have to find out the SVD of this। Obviously मैं ये चाहूँगा कि I want to map A to U summation VT। ठीक है, ये तो याद है ना। तो उसका पहला स्टेप ये है कि I find out this matrix A dot A transpose, which is pretty simple matrix, simple matrix multiplication। So I do this and this dot transpose this, so that is 17 8 and 8 and 17, 17 8 8 and 17। ठीक है। Now I find out the determinant of that to find out the eigenvalues। सही है। So let's say I want 3 principal components। So I want to find 3 eigenvalues। ठीक है, 3 eigenvalues, they are going to have associated with them 3 eigenvectors, and then I can go with the principal components, so at least 3। So I'll say determinant AAT minus lambda I equals to this, I have to I think equate it to 0। ठीक है। So to find out the lambda values, so it's a lambda square minus 34 lambda plus 2 to 5. तो जब मैंने ये किया, so this is exactly what I get, and then I factorize it basically. Factorization of the quadratic equation, that is pretty simple, right? वो तो बच्चों वाली चीज है. So one of the factors is 25 and the other one is 9. So lambda minus 25 and lambda minus 9. So ये इसको okay, so eigenvalues of ATA equals to 2590. Why 0? ये क्या हो रहा है? तो छोड़ दें यार, बड़े हो गए यार. अब तो बच्चे आपको देखते होंगे और एग्जाम्पल लेंगे, वो भी क्लास में उसी तरह. वो अलग बात है अगर मैं भी बैठा होता तो मेरा भी ये मूड होता कि भाई बस बातें करो, ये करो, वो करो. तो बहरहाल why I have written 0 here? को बता सकते हैं? Lambda 1 is what? What is the first eigenvalue? 25. The other one is 9 and the third one is? Why 0? है ही नहीं तो 0. ठीक है. So ये यहाँ पे मसला खड़ा होगा कि I can find out the eigenvectors of this and this. That means basically the columns of matrix. The columns of matrix. अगर eigenvalues are the summation, eigenvalues will come in the middle matrix, जो rank वाला है. So I'm assuming the rank of this matrix, जो original matrix था, that must be 3. That is why we want to compute 3 eigenvalues. ठीक है. So third one is 0. I can find out the eigenvectors of this and this through some maths, but for that one I have to do some other tricks. So we'll see later on. ठीक है. As ATA is symmetric, so eigenvectors will be orthonormal. ये हमने last time भी ये बात की थी. कि inverse is equal to the transpose for the orthogonal vectors. ठीक है. So for lambda equals to 25, so when I plug in the values ATA minus lambda I, so when I put lambda 25, so I get this vector. Sorry, matrix. ठीक है. Eigenvalues मिल गई है ना. अब मुझे वापस उनको plug भी करना है. Why am I plugging them here? To find out the eigenvectors, which will be primarily the V vector. V vector के जो columns हैं, they are the eigenvectors. ठीक है. The columns of the V matrix are the eigenvectors. ठीक है. So this is what I get here, and when I find out the row reduced echelon form, so that is this matrix here of the matrix. Row reduced echelon form I think has some restriction के the first number should be 1, all the other ones should be coming after that. ठीक है. इस तरह की कोई चीज होती है, and we can't have other than 1 and 0 and -1, otherwise the matrix is not there. ये आप लोगों ने किया हुआ है? बस ठीक है, फिर एग्जाम में दे देंगे. ठीक है. हाँ, इसका कैलकुलेटर है, it's just online calculator, just use that. ठीक है. वो कोई ऐसा मसला नहीं है. I don't think I'm going to be giving. I'll be asking about the process. ये कोर्स इसलिए नहीं है, वो आप अंडरग्रेड में पढ़ेंगे कभी एसपीडी, तो आप वो देख लीजिएगा. बहरहाल अच्छा, तो then how do you find the kernel of the matrix? A matrix kernel is a matrix multiplied by the kernel, that is should be equal to 0. मैट्रिक्स का डॉट प्रोडक्ट कर्नल के साथ करेंगे तो आउटपुट आपका 0 आना चाहिए. तो ये इसकी एस्टिमेशन करने का भी तरीका होता है. तो अब कर्नल, फर्स्ट वी फाइंड आउट द कर्नल ऑफ द मैट्रिक्स, एंड फ्रॉम दैट आई फाइंड आउट द यूनिट लेंथ वेक्टर. तो यूनिट लेंथ वेक्टर इज प्रीटी सिंपल. सो फॉर एग्जांपल आई हैव दिस, लेट्स से के 1 2 0 2 2 0 3 0 0. So what is the unit length vector here? If we find out 1 square plus 2 square 5, square root of 5. I think it's the addition one, right? Or if we calculate like this, this way. Unit length है ना, तो 9 plus 4 plus 1, 9 plus 4 14, under root of 14. So that should be what? Add करते नहीं,
1 over root 14
1 over root 14 के सब जगह वो आ जाएगा 1 over root 14 अगर इस तरह करें तो 1 over root 5 2 over root 5 and so on सही है तो it's just the all the total divided by total करके square root and you find out the unit length vector सही है तो for example अगर इसका करना है 1 2 0 तो इसका ये होगा 1 over root 5 2 over root 5 सही है is this clear तो चेक कर लीजिएगा बहरहाल इसका जो यूनिट लेंथ वेक्टर है वो ये है this we are getting this for the lambda equals to 9 I'm getting this matrix row reduced echelon form is this one and the unit length vector in the kernel of the matrix is this इसका कर्नल निकालते हैं उससे पे यूनिट लेंथ वेक्टर निकालते हैं ठीक है so I'm getting that value there and now for the last eigenvector find the unit vector perpendicular to v1 and v2 so we have v1 what is v1 this is in fact v1 or ये v1 remember in the last class I told you the notation that v1 is the vector pointing in this direction v2 is the vector pointing in this direction is the vector basically that we these are basically principal component ठीक है so principal component में निकाल लिए then now we have to find the third one which is perpendicular to these ठीक है तो अब उसके लिए क्या है to be perpendicular to v1 abc we need minus a equals to b then for v2 transpose v3 equals to 0 because it's not
orthonormal to each other
हाँ orthonormal to each other ये बात है तो उसके लिए फिर क्या है 2a over root 18 plus 4c over root 18 equals to 0 और minus a equals to 2c so ये उसको उन्होंने equate किया so v3 equals to a minus a over 2 and for it to be unit length we need to have a equals to 2 by 3 so that is now the v3 that we have here ठीक है so इसकी कैलकुलेशन थोड़ी सी यू कैन लुक अप सम अदर एग्जांपल्स एज वेल कि वो किस तरह है लेकिन इफ इट कम्स इन द एग्जाम तो वी आर गोना बी वर्किंग जस्ट विद 2 एंड आई एम गोना बी आस्किंग कंसेप्चुअल क्वेश्चंस ठीक है बहुत सारे लोगों ने सॉल्यूशन दिया हुआ है लेकिन जो इंटरनल मैथमेटिकल डिटेल्स नहीं दी हुई so yes we do not have the time to teach those or you know dwell too much on that बहरहाल you कहते हैं sigma and this is v how this is v 1 over under root 2 1 over under root 2 0 that is the first v1 this was v2 and now this is v3 so we find out the three principal components but I do not get this one
so shouldn't be square
it should be 0 0 and what was the third one 0 0 0 so we have basically skipped that ठीक है अब u निकालने के लिए क्या करना है we have a we have this and we have this तो इसको फिर multiply करके u के आप वो m into r you have to take m into r matrix so each component you can find out through by solving for that ठीक है तो sigma is the scalar ui equals to a vi or ui equals to a vi over sigma this I think this is the shortcut so u1 जितनी भी एंट्रीज u मैट्रिक्स की हैं just matrix A multiplied by the vi of that divided by sigma where sigma is a predefined scalar or maybe the standard deviation the overall standard deviation normalized standard deviation of the whole data okay so that is going to give you this matrix so now you have solved basically for all three so the basic thing here is to understand this one okay you start with this a transpose and you solve for determinant this and find out the factorization so this will give you the lambda values and from the lambda values you find out the principal components if you want to do it through some other method you can do that this is a bit complicated because इसको मालूम करना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल काम है और then kernel of the matrix निकालना वो भी एक थोड़ा कदरे मुश्किल है so if you know some other method to find out the principal components हमने PCA में कौन सा देखा था हाँ eigen values तो हमने इसी तरह निकाली थी ना then what we did eigen vector कैसे निकाला था You remember what we did in PCA?
A minus lambda I में put. Yes.
So that's हाँ, तो जब हमने put किया तो did we get the eigenvectors immediately?
तो eigenvalues है.
Then when I put 9 here, so this is the matrix. So this is not the eigenvector, right? We need to do something with that. This is what we do. I don't remember right now. So we went through all of these steps here. A equals to V into what? We had this formula, right? A. Just wait up. हाँ ये था कि PA1 equals to SA1 into V1. Okay, so just write this down here. You just have to understand this with respect to another perspective, तो आपको इंशाल्लाह all clear हो जाएगा. PA1 equals to SA1 into V1 and PA2 equals to SA2 into V2. So this basically provides you more explanation about that sigma term. ठीक है? So इसका मतलब क्या है कि if I have to find out PA1 or PA2, which is what I want, eigenvectors, तो वो क्या है? That requires me to calculate S. S is simply the projection. यानी इस point की A point की projection on these two axes is SA1 and SA2. Simple as that. ठीक है? So based on this projection, I will know the decomposition data. So इसको थोड़ा सा आगे लेके चलते हैं तो मैं आपको बस I just want, this is just A dot V equals to S. So basically A equals to V transpose S. ये तो clear है ना? क्योंकि orthonormal है तो I can transpose is the inverse. A equals to S dot V transpose. So what we were showing in singular value decomposition, A equals to U sigma V transpose, and now we are saying S V transpose. So S equals to U into sigma. So S क्या मतलब है कि the S matrix, that matrix is representing the projection of each point on the axis. That is basically U into the summation term. ठीक है? Concept multiplied by the strength of the concept is basically this one. So this is representing that product. बस ये चीज आपको याद रखनी है. बाकी estimate कैसे करना है वो अब आप लोग देख चुके हैं. We can increase the number of points. That makes no difference. The S matrix will just keep on increasing. जितना आपने करना है कर लें. The main point was this one. जो ये सब हमने काम किया, it's the same thing. These are just the projections which we are seeing here. But यहाँ पे एक चीज जरूरी है कि we normalize. जैसे we took the unit length vector, right? That is meant for normalization. So it's always better to normalize. And we were also normalizing in the previous solution that we did. ठीक है? So in fact that we did while finding the V को find करने के लिए तो we normalize. So in this case also we normalize. So it turns out that it's easier to manage. So eigenvalues come here. And these are the unit vector and I can now approximate them. Main चीज जो है ना वो ये है. This is just to tell you कि you need some matrix in between to get the final output. So this ये क्या है? Different eigenvalues, different combination of eigenvalues is giving me so different vectors in those directions. That's the thing. ठीक है? So the directions remain the same, but the eigenvalues can be different. कि किस तरह वो हो रहा है? ये चीज clear हो रही है ना? मैं पूछ सकता हूँ एग्जाम में. Although this won't be moving. ठीक है? So the directions are remaining the same, but I can vary on those, right? कि कितनी उसकी कहाँ पे मैंने उसको fix करना है. But I'm always mapping on these two dimensions. ठीक है? तो the eigenvalues मुझे बताएंगी, लेकिन they're always going to be orthonormal. ताकि वैल्यूज कम हो या ज्यादा हो. ठीक है? तो ये सब कहानियां चल रही हैं. ये मेन चीज है कि A dash equals to S VT. A dash कहां से आ गया? So it's probably the projection probably. Now this is the main thing कि how many principal components I want. ठीक है, तो जितने मुझे चाहिए मैं उतने रखूं और बाकी भी. This is just the one principal component and I can have 2 or 3 whatever. ये मेरे पे डिपेंड करता है. सही है. So this is the projected data set. So these are the कर लें quiz कर लें क्या? अभी तो टाइम है. So let's do the. So this finishes up your topic for dimensionality reduction. So we did the 3 basic things: PCA with an example, LDA with an example, and now SVD also with an example. So they have their applications. So now it's very easy to use them in Python. मैंने आपको उसका वो भी दिया हुआ है. Although SVD is not very, it remains to be seen कि SVD को हम machine learning में कैसे use करेंगे. That is something which will be explored in the project. तो जब मैं प्रोजेक्ट बनाऊंगा तो आई विल हैव टू यूज ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स ताकि आपकी उसमें प्रैक्टिस हो जाए. ठीक है जी. The first number in the row called the leading coefficient is 1. Every leading one is to the right of the one above it. So I can't have 0. ठीक है. I can't have a non-zero row below a 0 row. The 0 row should be at the end. ठीक है. And blah blah blah. So this one should be here. I can't have a 2 here. ठीक है. I can't have -1 in this position. So there are different ways to compute this. तो अगर आपको आता है तो बहुत अच्छा. This is the calculator basically. Row reduced echelon form, etc. The kernel is this one. The linear transformation t dot v equals to 0. So I can find out the, look at this K. The kernel is basically that thing जिसका मैं वो like I have 3 columns here. The number of columns is m, for example 3. So I will have 3 here. So ये वो चीज थी जिसका हम eigenvector निकाल रहे थे. Now I can find out the unit vector for this one. All I have to do is to find out the values of s based on the fact that the output is going to be 0. When you find out the value of s, then find out the unit vector. तो वो आपका eigenvector आपको मिल गया. So that seems to be the general pattern of finding out the eigenvectors. ठीक है. ये हमने किया था थोड़ा सा DR में. Did we do this? ये किया था ना. ये कर लिए थे. ठीक है. So this ये तो बहुत आसान है. हाँ. Is the statement one can always use PCA wherever SVD is used for dimensionality reduction? True or false? बहुत आसान है. In both the cases, I am finding out the principal components. सही है. हाँ. तो true होगा ये. The eigenvector corresponding to the largest eigenvalue points in the direction of highest variability in the data. Applying PCA is beneficial when the non-diagonal terms of the covariance matrix are 0 or close to 0. अच्छा. Covariance matrix, what does it tell? इसका तो मतलब ये है कि सारे वेरिएबल्स हैं वो आपस में कोरिलेटेड हैं. एक तो अपने आप से कोरिलेटेड हैं. ठीक है. So is that going to be helpful? How does PCA use the concept of covariance? Where is the covariance matrix used in calculation of PCA? We found out the eigenvalues of the covariance matrix. यही था ना? So I think this is false because अगर वो correlation नहीं है तो वो variability कैसे discover करेगा? So this should be false. ठीक है? While applying PCS, the class labels associated with the data are ignored. True or false? PCA होगा ये. True. That's LDA जो करता है. You are working 5 features हैं to apply PCA. You carry the covariance matrix. You find 5 eigenvalues. ये देखें आप क्या? You want to achieve as much DR as possible to keep the mean squared error below 2.5. ये तो बड़ा अच्छा मीन स्क्वायर 2.5 पे तो ये बड़ा छूट दे रहा है. हम तो 1 से हमेशा ले जाने की कोशिश करते हैं नीचे, वो भी मुसीबत पड़ जाती है। कौन से आइगन वैल्यू सिलेक्ट करेंगे, ये किस तरह करेंगे भाई? You want to achieve as much as DR as possible to keep the mean squared error below 2.5. जी, ये थोड़ा सा लॉजिकल क्वेश्चन है। He has given you the eigen values और अब ये 5 eigen values हैं, that means 5 principal components हैं basically. Now is asking you कि आप कौन सी select करेंगे so that the mean squared error always remains below 2.5. You are putting a bound on the error. How can you ensure that?
क्योंकि थर्ड में गैप बहुत ज्यादा
Yes, that's a very good response. I think this is the answer. बिल्कुल सही है, क्योंकि थर्ड में जो this is basically the strength. अगर एसवीडी में मामला रखें, एसवीडी का क्या बता रहा था कि eigen values represent the strength of the concept which you have learned from the data. So these two represent very big strengths that can model most of the variability in the data. 2.25 मतलब कि कोई हल्की सी चीज है जो कि मशीन लर्निंग के लिए भी मुसीबत डाल देगी, उसको अंडर फिटिंग हो जाएगी इसके ऊपर। तो इनका आंसर बिल्कुल सही है कि दिस शुड बी द रिस्पॉन्स। ठीक है, हाँ, गिवन अ सिंगल ग्रे लेवल इमेज ऑफ साइज 32 by 32, कितने पिक्सल्स हो गए? 1064। हाउ मेनी फीचर्स? 32 by 32 निकालें, कितना होता है? 1064। इज इट पॉसिबल टू अप्रोक्सीमेट इट बाय एसवीडी? आपका रिस्पॉन्स यस है, क्यों? से एनीथिंग, इट डोंट वरी इफ इट इज रॉन्ग और नॉट, इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। ट्राई टू से समथिंग।
सिर्फ
आप
दो
बताएं।
इमेज फजी होती है।
फजी यहाँ तो नहीं लिखा हुआ।
इमेज थोड़ी नहीं, फजी यहाँ पे नहीं लिखा हुआ, लेकिन लाइक वंस आई अप्लाइड आई डिड समथिंग सिमिलर टू दिस। तो बेसिकली होता ही है कि इमेज रिक्रिएशन के लिए, बिकॉज दिस इज 32 by 32, काफी बड़ा मैट्रिक्स आपके पास आ जाता है और इतनी आपके पास स्पेस नहीं होती। तो यू कैन यूज लाइक पीसी और एसवीडी टू गेट द मेन फीचर्स ऑफ द इमेज। सो दो यू कैन रिकॉग्नाइज द इमेज, बट उसकी रेजोल्यूशन थोड़ी सी कम हो जाती है, बिकॉज वी आर जस्ट गेटिंग दोज फीचर्स जो इमेज को डिस्क्राइब कर रहे हैं, जैसे एजेस वगैरह।
सही है, एक जवाब तो ये है। और भाई इनके मुताबिक, एमन के मुताबिक तो हो सकता है, कर सकते हैं। आप बताइए भाई कितने कॉलम्स होंगे इस डेटा सेट के? वन एक इमेज है, ऑब्वियसली मल्टीपल इमेजेस होंगे, तो ईच इमेज इज अप्रोक्सीमेटेड बाय हाउ मेनी कॉलम्स? बताएं भाई, इमेज डेटा को मैं डिस्क्रिटाइज कर रहा हूँ, 1064 कॉलम्स। Obviously, I won't put 1064 columns in a multi-layer perceptron or a neural network or this random forest for that example. And mind you, machine learning algorithms have been used for image classification with a good performance. Or I think top of them is SVM. So ये नहीं है कि मुझे इमेज देख के फौरन कन्वोल्यूशन की तरफ भागना है. That's not always the case. So therefore, I need to cut down. तो एसवीडी हो सकता है सर, आप हो सकता है। और अप्रोक्सीमेट का मतलब है कि डीआर डायमेंशन यूज करना, कर सकते हैं। क्यों? दलील क्या है इस चीज की? ये तो फिर किसी को भी कहता है, ये भी इसको भी कर दें। इमेज की बात होगी ना, वो it is possible. One of the main applications of SVD is image compression. He's talking about basically approximation means image compression, which is a very important pre-processing step. Even for those people who are taking deep learning, ये मैंने नहीं कराया था। जो हमने image pre-processing steps हैं, हम वो देख रहे हैं, affine transform, shear, ये वो सब चीजें। But this is also very important. ठीक है? ये क्या हो गया? हाँ, ये entropy. What's entropy? The measure of disturbance in some data. Two buckets of red and blue balls. The first bucket has more red balls, and the second bucket has equal number of red and blue balls. Which has more entropy? ये तो बहुत आसान है यार. It's pretty simple. Purity वाला concept है. Purity means के if the data has only just one class label, then that has a very low entropy. If the class labels are mixed up, ज़्यादा class labels हैं, then entropy is high. So this has more entropy. Confusion ज़्यादा है ना? I have both red balls and blue. Consider them as classes. So एक bucket के अंदर red class भी आ रही है, देखें. If I अगर मुझे training data दिया जाए जिसमें सिर्फ एक class हो, तो मैं तो machine learning करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Entropy 0 है. जो भी training data, जो भी live data आएगा, just predict कि वो class है जो training data की. But if I have two classes, then entropy will exist. सही है. ये तो वो concept था, decision tree का concept है यार, तो बहुत simple है, तो आपको लोग आना चाहिए. You have two distributions. A friend of yours calculates the KL divergence, which we talked about in the last class. What do you mean by KL divergence? The distance between two probability density curves. That's one measure. Obtains a very close to 0. Then distance is almost 0. What conclusion can you draw? The two distributions are very similar. Huh? Are very much dissimilar. This is the right answer. Because other two are not applicable in this case. मुझे KL divergence का formula भी याद नहीं आ रहा, बहरहाल. What is the non-linear method from the list below? Yes, that seems to be the answer. Because ये तो सारे linear, ठीक है. और एक और भी था यार, यही तो है. Okay, so I don't know this का क्या, just submitted the. So I think this finishes up the topic of dimensionality reduction, and now we can move on to the more important things. Okay, so now we are starting with the Monte Carlo approximation. So we have to understand two concepts very clearly. One is the concept of Monte Carlo, and the other is the concept of Markov chains. And then we have to understand a combination of these, which is called Monte Carlo Markov chain, MCMC. That is a very important sampling method to estimate the probability density, the joint probability density. So इन चीजों को अच्छी तरह समझना, it's extremely important, ठीक है? Monte Carlo is actually approximation has to do with the central limit theorem that we already did at the beginning of the course. So the central limit theorem states that if you sample a large number of times some random variable, so the average or the expected value of that random variable will converge to the normal distribution. And in this same way, when you talk of the expected value, you can also talk of other things like variance and some other parameters as well. Okay? So this is a very important concept in this machine learning. Okay, if you sample a large number of times, then you get something from that. The basic concept is that. ठीक है? कि अगर आप एक चीज को कई हजार दफा सैंपल करें, तो उसकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एस्टिमेट करना आसान हो जाता है. That is the main thing. And estimating the distribution is one of the main things in predicting some number or some variable. The other machine learning algorithms that we are using these days do not always estimate the PDF. They have some other approximation methods like SVM, maps the data to a higher dimension to find out the decision boundary. But this thing is also very important in machine learning. It is not very much well recognized by data scientists. So now we are now laying the foundation for those algorithms which are purely Bayesian in nature, जो कि Bayes theorem के ऊपर base करते हैं, and based on those you will be doing machine learning. ठीक है, so we'll see how that happens. So there are a number of things that we want to keep in mind. So the first very basic concept is that of Monte Carlo approximation. ठीक है, so this here is the central limit theorem, that if I sort or sample a random variable several thousands of times, then some parameter is going to be approximated by the normal distribution. जिस तरह से वो चीज occur करेगी, सही है, the shape is going to be approximated by the Gaussian curve. ठीक है, so in this case we have plotted the histogram of the summation, और जब मैं sum कर रहा हूँ numbers को, so the sum of the numbers is going to converge to a normal distribution shape. ठीक है, जो tend towards the Gaussian. और Gaussian जो curve है, it has its parameter like standard deviation and mean. That's the basic parameter that is had. So that is the foundation for Monte Carlo approximation. It's actually a method to generate the distribution. और अब जो इतनी भी हम काम कर रहे हैं उसमें हमारा target जो है वो estimation of the PDF. ठीक है, so it's one of the methods to do that. First we generate S samples from the distribution. So we sample S times. So X1 to XS, I get S values. ठीक है. One of the ways that we can generate these samples is called Markov chain Monte Carlo, जो कि हम बाद में करेंगे. अभी हम सिर्फ Monte Carlo की बात कर रहे हैं. सही है. If we have the samples, we can approximate the distribution of a function of the random variable, any function like summation, average, variance, whatever. ठीक है. By using the empirical distribution of f of x of s for every sample. So if I apply the same function on the samples, okay, then I can use all those approximations to approximate for the original sample. So yeah, so this is called Monte Carlo approximation, or ye named after a city in Europe known for its plush gambling casinos. So बुनियाद तो इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, लेकिन अब gambling casinos को हमने पीछे छोड़ दिया. And now we are using them in the area of statistical physics during development of the atom bomb, now widely used in statistics and machine learning. So the basic idea remains the same, that you sample a random variable a large number of times and then use the sample values to in some function. So the values that you get after a large number of samples, those values on the application of the function on the sample values is going to be approximated by the Gaussian curve in almost all the cases, except when you have some other distribution. ठीक है, तो अब इसकी example हम देख लेते हैं, फिर आप लोगों को सही तरह समझ में आएगा. So this is not the example. We can use MC to approximate the expected value of any function of a random variable. Any function, random variable पे आप जो से function लाए उसकी आप expected value calculate करना चाहें तो आप कर सकते हैं. Obviously through this we simply draw samples and then compute the arithmetic mean of the function applied to the samples. So if I take samples of 10 average, then again sample 10 values average, again sample 10 values average, again sample 10 values average. So the distribution of this average is going to converge to a normal distribution. ये जो average का number जो आ रहा है, जो number average generate हो रहे हैं, the means that are being generated, that will be shaped like a Gaussian curve. सही है. So the function outputs are the function outputs applied on the different samples. Those outputs will be approximated by the normal distribution, provided that you sample large enough times, not just 5 times or 10 times. ठीक है. So ये Monte Carlo integration is the same as this summation, and this has the advantage over numerical integration because the function is only evaluated in places where there is non-negligible probability, because we have the numbers in our hands. When we sample the numbers, that means that they are probable. Probable hain to aaye na, so probability is never going to be zero. So when you have a continuous PDF, you might have some areas in which the probability is zero. Let's say, for example, I have number going from -100 to 200. Suppose that is the range of the function. So maybe from 150 to 160 probability zero. मुमकिन है कि कोई values ना occur करती हो, ठीक है? But in this case, when I am doing this summation, then there is no chance that probability will be zero, because the numbers that I'm getting are probable numbers. That's why they are being sampled. ठीक है? और sampling में you do know कि whenever you sample, random sample की जाती है, sampling में ज्यादा चीजें वही आएंगी जो ज्यादा probable होती हैं, right? The numbers that are more probable will be outputted in the sample more than those numbers which are less probable. Therefore, जो sample के जो numbers आ रहे हैं वो हो ही नहीं सकता कि उनकी probability zero हो, otherwise वो आते ही नहीं. So in this case मेरे पास आसानी ये है कि I can just integrate over them to find out the average. ठीक है? So when you find out the average, then you can find out the variance. You can also have something like this: in how many samples the value of x is less than a constant c, probability of x is less than or equal to c. That can also be approximated by the Monte Carlo method. कि मिसाल आप number sample करें, sample a number. So let's say c is 10. सही है? So you sample a number once. Let's say you get 9. So you say 1. 1 times the number is एक दफा, ठीक है? And then you sample 1000 numbers, and for each time you see कि whether it is less than C or not. So for 1000 number you can tell कि इतनी probability है कि less than C आएगा, इस तरह करके, ठीक है? इस तरह median भी निकाल सकते हैं. The more concrete example, this is one example in which you have this uniform distribution from -1 to 1, and x you take from here. You x sample from the uniform distribution and use it in the formula y equals to x squared. So you sample x from the uniform distribution thousands of times and use it in the formula, so you will get this curve. So the histogram जो है ना वो ये वाला आ जाएगा. So it's almost a normal curve, but half of that basically, because of the way the curve is coming and because of the way the range in which you are sampling from the uniform distribution. So this is the curve you get. ठीक है? The Monte Carlo approximation is shown on the right. This is the actual curve which you get, y equals to x squared, and this is the Monte Carlo क्या कहते हैं approximation which is shown on the right. So it's almost similar to the actual curve. सारी समझ में आ रही बात? How do you get this approximation? कौन बताएगा मुझे? भाई जो वैल्यू आपने सैंपल की है उसको आप स्क्वायर कर दें. I sample from -1 to 1. I don't look at y equals to x square. Y equals to x square का जो कर्व है वो जो भी है, ठीक है? The analytical result shows the Monte Carlo approximation on the right. मैं उसको स्क्वायर कर देता हूँ. Whenever I sample from -1 to 1, I just square it. I just square it and plot it. So the answer I'm going to get after thousands of iterations is this one. सही है? इस तरह का आंसर. इसको मजीद समझने के लिए ना, let us take this very concrete example, जो कि बहुत मशहूर और आप सबको पता होनी चाहिए, कि estimating pi, the value of pi by Monte Carlo integration. ये बहुत मशहूर एग्जाम्पल है and you should know this कि ये किस तरह की जाती है. The idea is this कि I want to estimate the value of pi. What is the area of a square? Pi r squared. R is the radius, where R is the radius, ठीक है? That is the area of the square. Now, area of a circle, sorry, हाँ. Area of the circle is pi r squared, where R is the radius, ठीक है? Now I want to estimate the value of pi through Monte Carlo approximation, ठीक है? So अब the scenario I lay is I have a coordinate frame -1 to 1, -1 to 1. So I'm going to sample in this range. जैसे ये हमने किया ना? I sample from -1 to 1. So I'm going to sample two values, both in the range -1 to 1. एक value x की तरफ से आएगी, एक value y की तरफ से आएगी to make a coordinate. So I'm sampling, I'm just sampling randomly. I don't have some coordinate from the training data, I'm just sampling, ठीक है? From some random distribution or uniform distribution, whatever. It's not necessary that I always sample from the normal distribution, ठीक है? So if I am taking this coordinate frame -1 to 1, -1 to 1, then each side is of unit 1, right? या ये कितने units हो गए? 2 units हो गए. 2 units and 2 units, ठीक है? So if I have a circle in this, so what is the radius? Radius is 1. Radius, diameter is 2 units, right? The radius of the circle is 1. अब मुझे पता है कि पाई की वैल्यू तो सर्कल के एरिया की इक्वेशन में आती है. So I have to link up this Monte Carlo sampling with the equation of the circle, area of the circle. ठीक है? So let's see how that is done. ठीक है? Imagine a circle inside the same square with the same diameter and inscribed inside the square. We calculate this ratio. इस तरह है. We know that the area of the square is 1. इस square का area कितना है? अच्छा, एरिया ऑफ द स्क्वायर क्या होता है? L squared. तो ये 1 किस तरह हो गया? -1 to, बस इन्होंने इस तरह इसको एज्यूम किया हुआ है. We'll have to take their word for that. -0.5 minus -0.5 is 1. Area of the square is 1. अच्छा चलें पहले इसको देखते हैं फिर इसको सॉल्व करते हैं, ठीक है? ये ग्रीन, एक सेकंड, मैं पहले मोंटे कार्लो समझ लें, फिर इस पे हम बाद में आ जाएंगे, ठीक है? These green points I have sampled. For each I have sampled 2 numbers to get these multiple coordinates, ठीक है? Now area of the circle divided by area of the square. For a very large number of generated points, area of the circle, why I am dividing this? Let's say I make this equation. Area of the circle कितना किससे approximate हो सकता है? Number of points generated inside the circle divided by total number of points generated or number of points generated inside the square. So I am approximating the area. देखिए Monte Carlo कर रहा हूँ ना. So I am approximating the area of the circle with respect to the area of the square through the frequency of the points. कि कितने points उसमें आए, क्योंकि points are like covering the whole of the circle. If I calculate the number of points, so that is should give me an approximation for the area. This is one way of thinking about it, ठीक है? So what is the area of the circle? हाँ, so let's just take area of the circle is pi over 4. ये तो circle का तो area pi over 4 ही होगा ना, ठीक है? I mean, this equation is correct, but now I am equating this area of the circle by pi over 4. सही है? सही है? तो pi क्या हो गया? Pi equals to 4. 4 को मैं वहां ले गया, ठीक है? तो 4 comes here and area of the square is 1. So the 1 comes here basically. सही है? So basically I have to estimate the pi equals to 4 multiplied by number of points generated inside the circle divided by number of points generated inside the square. Now if I sample thousands of these points, I sample thousands of these points and then उसमें से मैं देखूं कि कितने उसमें से पॉइंट सर्कल में आए और कितने टोटल मैंने जनरेट किए, and I multiplied by that by 4. So surprisingly I'm going to get the value 3.14. ठीक है? तो इसको देखने के लिए आप this is the Python code. Okay. So it's very simple. Circle points and square points. ठीक है? So I sample from a uniform distribution from -1 to 1. ठीक है? And original distance कितना है? Randomized x squared plus randomized y squared. That is the x square plus y square, क्या area of the circle x square plus y square equals to 1? हाँ, that's the equation of the circle, x square plus y square equals to 1. So ये original distance इन्होंने x square plus y square निकाला है, checking if xy lies inside the circle. If original distance is less than or equal to 1, then circle points. That's that way we can see कि वो circle के अंदर lie कर रहा है कि नहीं. If x square plus y square will be less than or equal to 1, that means it is inside the circle. Otherwise, it is outside the circle. और अगर ये condition true नहीं है, then square points equals to 1. वो तो वैसे भी होना ही है क्योंकि हर point पे तो उसने add करना ही है इसको. तो when I sample this 1000 times आप करेंगे, so 3.1401888. So based on this Monte Carlo, I am able to approximate the value of pi through by just sampling points from a uniform distribution. You can also try other distributions if you want. Uniform distribution का फायदा ये है कि there is no bias at all. Just this, all the points are equiprobable. So most of the times you sample from the uniform distribution. So just by sampling points, random point sampling in a given range, I am able to approximate the value of pi. अच्छा, अब जो हमारा मसला था वो आप लोग क्या कह रहे थे कि the area of the circle is, so we talked about कि it does not make a difference with this formulation, because if we assume the area of the circle to be 4, then the radius has to be assumed 0.5. 1, sorry, if the radius is 1, so it's going to be the same thing. 4, we will just have 4 here in any case. Okay? So we've seen how that happens, and this is again the same algorithm that we have seen in the beauty of this algorithm is that we don't need any graphics or simulation to display the generated points. We simply generate random XY pairs and then check if this condition is true. So this is a very simple example. So I have a friend in Google who told me कि teach your students how to approximate the value of pi through Monte Carlo. Probably if you take the Google test for some analytics position, so this is probably one of the questions they're asking, or some related thing for a data scientist. So if he has to increment the number of points that appears in the blah 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 blah. ठीक है? Random, uniform. I generate from a uniform distribution. दिखाया तो था आपको उसमें Python code के अंदर. I sample from a uniform distribution. जी. Here random dot uniform -1 to 1. Just sample from that. Similarly, कोई भी काम function हो, sampling आप किसी भी distribution से कर लें, आगे उस पे function apply करते हैं, you will get that value. The condition is that you need to sample a large number of times. Let's see what happens when I sample it 100 times. You see, 3.12. So approximation खराब हो गई है. At least it should be good. So 100, so 1000 पे, you see, that's the condition that we want to make sure that it does not happen. Accuracy of the Monte Carlo approximation increases with sample size. ठीक है? So this is ये तो खैर मैंने किताब से लिया है. So 10 and 100 samples from a Gaussian distribution. ये वो example है जो भी हमने देखी है. So we are sampling. This is the true curve, is the red one, and this is with the 10 samples, and this is with the 100 samples. So when I take 100 samples, so it is approximating the true distribution more closely. So yeah, so the sampling needs to be strong. That's all you need to keep in mind here. And then I can, ये जरा बताएं, if we denote the exact mean is this one, and this is the mean which is approximated by the Monte Carlo method. So mu dash minus mu, that is the error, is normally distributed. The error is normally distributed. Is that correct? With a mean of 0 and standard deviation of this. We talked about this in the initial classes. Okay, even the deviation from the true is supposed to have some sort of a distribution. ये जो आपके regression problems में जो error आता है, if you take, अगर आप उस error की distribution बना लें, so that can also be approximated by the normal distribution. So error is also one parameter that you can use. So when you approximate the mean through Monte Carlo, then you can approximate the variance, you can approximate the deviation from the mean, you can approximate the median, whatever. Okay. And this is the consequence of the central limit theorem. Of course, sigma square is unknown in the above expression, but it can also be estimated by Monte Carlo, like this one. So Monte Carlo से पहले mean आपने approximate कर लिया, that's pretty simple. So take a sample of 10 numbers, mean, sample of 10 numbers, again mean, mean, ठीक है? So उससे फिर आप उसकी आप or maybe is that the way? A sample 1000 numbers and take the mean. That's it, right? इस तरह होगा ना? How can you approximate the mean from Monte Carlo of a random variable? I sample 1000 numbers and take the mean. Is that it? 1000 sample sets लेने पड़ेंगे. 1000 sets of numbers and take the mean. So उस mean की distribution क्या होगी? Yes.
law of large numbers.
क्या है law of large numbers?
To take a large enough number of samples.
हाँ. But in this case, the problem is that do we want to plot a distribution of the mean, or we just want one value? If we want just one value, we sample 1000 numbers and take, but how can we? We need to have some function. सिर्फ ये थोड़ी कि आपने नंबर को आपने सैंपल कर लिया, जब आपने नंबर सैंपल किए then what do we do with those numbers? That's the thing. जैसा कि हमने पाई के केस में we put that in the equation of the circle. So we must have some function. Or the mean is the the random variable है ना, उसमें हम average थोड़ी कर सकते हैं यार. We have to calculate the expected value. तो expected value क्या होती है कि the value divided by its probability, and the probability will only be acquired through the distribution. So first you have the distribution, and from the distribution you get के mean values कौन-कौन सी आ रही हैं, ठीक है, और उन mean values की probability क्या-क्या है. So you multiply each by each other to find out the expected value. क्या ख्याल है? I think this is how it will be done. कि you sample a set of numbers each time, you take their average. चलो ठीक है, average आप ले लें उसका normal equation के through. हाँ, this is the only way it can be done. जहाँ तक मुझे जो बात समझ में आ रही है. Sample a set of numbers each time you take the mean and then plot it. तो वो value जितनी दफा आएगी वो उसकी फिर probability उसके density curve में आ जाएगी. तो multiply then each value with the probability to find out the expected value. And from the expected value, calculate the variance, which is this formula basically. And once you have the mean, तो फिर आप उससे calculate कर सकते हैं. What is this? ये क्या चीज है? What is this giving me? Mu minus 1.96 sigma star sigma hat over under root of s. So this gives me the confidence interval for the mean, which I have approximated from the Monte Carlo approximation. So that means that whenever I approximate some calculation from the Monte Carlo, then I have to give the range in which it is I can feel confident about it. So this is the 95% confidence interval in this value. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये उन्होंने उससे कैलकुलेट किया जब इनिशियली जो हम कैलकुलेशंस वगैरह कर रहे थे. Say the original population mean minus of this, ठीक है, and the original population mean and plus of this. That gives the, what was the formula for the confidence interval? याद है किसी को? आई थिंक यही फॉर्मूला था।
सर ये जो एस्टीमेट है म्यू हेड जो है
हम्म
उसमें प्लस माइनस कर लेंगे 1.96 इनटू सिग्मा हेड डिवाइडेड बाय एस अंडर तो आपको कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल।
हाँ, क्योंकि मीन तो हमें पता ही नहीं, पॉपुलेशन मीन तो हमें मालूम ही नहीं है। तो इफ यू गेट द एस्टिमेट म्यू हेड, then you subtract this 1.96 term and the plus 1.9 term to get the 95. अगर 99% कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए तो then these numbers are going to change. 1.96 probably change हो जाएगा, ठीक है। So वो तो खैर आप बस एक बेसिक लेवल पे कॉन्सेप्ट अपने याद रखें। सही है, क्लियर होगी बात। और ये बेसिकली वही चीजें बता रहे हैं। आई थिंक हाँ, the term sigma hat square over s is called the standard error of the mean. That's the term that you need to understand. That's used quite a lot. Standard error of the mean. What's the standard error of the mean? कि आपने जो mean estimate किया तो किस range के अंदर you can feel confident about it. So that's called the standard error of the mean. So this is it. So if you want to report an answer which is accurate to within plus or minus eta with probability at least 95%, we need to use a number of samples S which satisfies this. We can approximate the 1.96 factor by 2 yielding S greater than this value. तो आपके पास eta होना चाहिए कि इतना मेरा error होगा with probability at least 95%, ठीक है। और कितने samples हमें इस्तेमाल करने पड़ेंगे वो आप देख लें। If you use 1000 samples then we can approximate sigma hat squared. We need 1000 samples and therefore we can calculate this under root, just subtract it and plus it to get the confidence level for the 95% level confidence interval. Okay, I am 95% confident that my mean from Monte Carlo is going to lie in this range. So that's called the standard error of the mean. ठीक है। अच्छा, अब जो है ना वो we are going to lay the foundation for this. एक सेकेंड जी, साउंड और सब saw this in ML1 that this is the Bayesian formula. This is very important. Now you need to concentrate for the next half an hour. Bayesian statistics is this formula जो कि आपने क्लास 6 में पढ़ा था शायद, वो मैट्रिक में तो पढ़ा था नहीं, कंडीशनल प्रोबेबिलिटी फॉर्मूला यार, क्लास 9 में पढ़ा होगा, 9-10 में। You saw this formula, right? And then you saw this in ML1 also. It's a very childish thing, but the main things to realize is this relationship between posterior likelihood, prior, and evidence. So let's consider a classification scenario. Okay. So classification scenario mein what we have is we have typically a data set. So let's assume that I already divided that into two parts. Let me change the color. So let's see that this is C1. And let's say this is the pink one, so C2. And this is the data obviously for these two classes. So all of I have the columns here. Now I am given this training data. मेरे पास है, ठीक है। I am always interested in finding out the posterior. Posterior means something which comes after, बाद में जो चीज आती है, ठीक है। So in our case, the posterior for the naive Bayes or the maximum likelihood Bayes or whatever was probability that the class is C1, because that's what we have to predict, right? Given the data. And similarly, the other probability I want to find out is probability that the class is C2, given my data, which is obviously B, ठीक है। और इनमें से जो दो ज्यादा होगी तो मैं कहूंगा कि वो क्लास की प्रेडिक्शन है। So that was a very simple application of the Bayesian maths to find out the probability in machine learning scenario, ठीक है। This thing is called the posterior because that is my prediction basically that I want, ठीक है। One of the things I have here is called the prior. Prior means the prior knowledge that I have. So in that case, for this probability, the prior knowledge is probability of C1. And how will I calculate that? The total number of rows I have here and the number of rows I have for C1. C1 divided by total number of rows. That's it. And why am I doing this? Because this is a sample. The training data is a sample that I have generated, albeit it's just one sample. So one sample over a long time period, ठीक है, लेकिन it's just one sample, ठीक है. Similarly, for I can find out probability of C2 as well. That will be the prior for that formula. So prior always means the prior knowledge. This is not only applicable to machine learning scenario. Any scenario, you can consider these things. You will have some prior knowledge. You will want to estimate the posterior. And the third thing you will have is the likelihood. Okay, ठीक है, you're asking me, okay, what are the chances that the class is C1 given the data? But let me ask you first, कि data तुमसे क्या बात कर रहा है? So data मुझसे क्या बात कर रहा है? That is probability of the data given that the class is C1. Now I can find that out easily because I have given the data here C1. और इस C1 के पूरे box के अंदर whatever the B comes here, यहाँ पे जो भी data आएगा, I can find out the probability of that from this area of the training data. For example, it will say the probability that age is greater than 50 and the gender is male and the salary is at least this much and he has been a customer since this. So all of them can be calculated because all of these values are available here. So I can find out कि ये कितनी दफा ये चीजें आई हैं to find out the likelihood. सही है? So given any data or given any sample, I can calculate the prior from that. अब ये Monte Carlo से ऊपर आ रहे हैं हम थोड़ा सा, ठीक है? वहां तो ये था कि एवरेज निकाल लें और वेरिएंस निकाल लें, मीन निकाल लें. Given any sample or multiple samples, I can estimate the prior knowledge from that sample, and I can also estimate the likelihood. The thing probability of B can also be estimated from the is called the evidence. Okay, irrespective of the class के पूरे training data में age greater than 50 कितनी दफा आई है? If that is what you're looking at here. Okay, given that the class is C1, what is the probability the class is C1? Given that the age is greater than 50. So I can find out PA, I can find out age 50. Irrespective of the class, पूरे data set के अंदर 50 कितनी दफा आई है? That is my answer. Divided by total number of rows. सही है? सही clear है बात? So in any scenario, I can estimate these three things, and from that I will estimate the posterior. The problem is that this is one example from machine learning. The prior, like the posterior is almost the average of the likelihood and the prior. It's almost ऐसा होता है केस ना कि अगर Gaussian है, if these represent Gaussian distributions, अगर मैं prior को multiple times sample करके prior की distribution निकालूं, that will be Gaussian image. ठीक है? इसी तरह likelihood को मैं multiple times निकालूं मुख्तलिफ samples पे, तो उसको मैं approximate करूंगा तो वो उसकी Gaussian shape आएगी. तो Gaussian shape हो फिर तो बहुत आसान. Then everything falls into place के I can say कि the posterior Gaussian is an average of the prior Gaussian and the likelihood Gaussian. क्योंकि prior is basically your own guess. कि जैसे मैं class levels की हम बात करते हैं कि distinguish between a dog and a cat in an image. सही है? तो मेरा prior knowledge क्या है कि most cases में यार dog होना चाहिए. ये मेरा prior knowledge है. तो मैं कह सकता हूँ कि probability of C1 is 0.6, probability of C2 is 0.4. All this case में तो हम यहाँ से कि मैं आपको एक example दे रहा हूँ कि prior का मतलब क्या है logic में. Logically prior का मतलब ये है कि आपका अपना क्या knowledge है. तो मैं अपने knowledge के बेस पे ये बात कर रहा हूँ कि यार dogs के आने का चांस ज्यादा है, cats के आने का चांस कम है. सही है? और ये चीज मैं बेसिकली सैंपल करके मेरे दिमाग में हजारों सैंपल्स गुजरे, उसकी बेस पे मैंने आपको ये बात बता दी. तो मेरे ज़हन में इसकी प्रायर की गॉसियन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑलरेडी बनी हुई है, जिसकी बेस पे मैंने आपको ये बात बता दी. तो इफ एवरीथिंग इज गॉसियन देन एवरीथिंग इज गुड. तो प्रायर इज हियर, तो आई एम likelihood is here, and this is the actual thing that I want. It lies in between, and the prediction error is the difference, the deviation of the means of the likelihood and the prior. Prior distribution का mean, likelihood distribution का mean की जो आपस में distance है, that is basically the prediction error in machine learning. Although we don't see it that way, हम तो अपनी accuracy वगैरह देख रहे होते हैं ना, but you need to keep this in mind as well. ठीक है? This is the estimate, this is the expectation कि मैं क्या expect कर रहा हूँ, and this is actually the reality जो कि data set से मैं निकालता हूँ, likelihood जो, सही है? So अभी ये concept मैं आपको समझा रहा हूँ, just put the concepts in place, ठीक है? So this forms the basis. Now MCMC. So मैं से हंस रहा हूँ क्योंकि थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है ये, लेकिन इंशाल्लाह समझ में आ जाएगा, ठीक है? MCMC are used to approximate the posterior distribution of the parameter of interest by random sampling in a probabilistic space. So when I apply the concept of Monte Carlo sampling to this problem, so I can use the concept of Monte Carlo sampling to approximate the posterior distribution rather than likelihood, prior, blah 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 blah. मेरी बात समझ में आई आपको? मशीन लर्निंग में हम प्रायर भी निकाल रहे थे, लाइक्लीहुड भी निकाल रहे थे, एविडेंस भी निकाल रहे थे, ठीक है? In the case of this MCMC, I will try to directly estimate the prior posterior distribution just by looking at the sample. समझ में आ गई? Although वो जो sample मेरे पास आएगा, every time I'm going to sample a set of numbers, ठीक है? Basically मैं training data के samples ले रहा हूँ, okay? Because I have to make the prediction based on the, बताएं? I have to make the prediction based on the what? मेरे पास क्या है? What I have to learn the model? The data, the training data. So the sampling मैं कर रहा हूँ, let's assume कि I'm sampling from the training data, but I'm not calculating the prior, I'm not calculating the likelihood, I'm doing something else. I am sampling from the data and learning the posterior directly by that sample information, and that means I'm using Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo यही होता है ना, take a large number of samples and then approximate some function. यही होता है ना? So I am taking a large number of samples and approximating the posterior distribution. यही कर रहा हूँ ना मैं, या नहीं कर रहा? यही कर रहा हूँ. So now the function that I want to approximate is the posterior distribution. Because हमने शुरू में क्या बात की थी? मैंने आपको ये, I told you very much in the beginning कि जो Monte Carlo की जो example है, ये क्या लिखा हुआ है? A method to generate the distribution of a random variable. That is what we want to approximate. Monte Carlo इसका मतलब ही यही है कि multiple samples करके I have to approximate the distribution. In this case, I am interested in getting the distribution of the posterior. उसका नाम ही posterior distribution में रख दिया, ठीक है? So MCM, एक second please, sorry. So there are algorithms for doing this. So one of the algorithms is called Gibbs sampling, and the other is Hastings algorithm, and there are several others as well. I think manifold Hastings पता नहीं क्या है. So वो हम अगली क्लास में करेंगे. अभी MCMC को थोड़ा unfold होने दें, ठीक है? So it provides algorithms for systematic random. ये ऊपर वाली बात है लेकिन दूसरे तरीके से लिखी हुई है. Systematic random sampling from high dimensional probability distribution when you have many columns and you want to approximate the posterior distribution, then you can use MCMC. And through the posterior estimate कर ली तो prediction आ गई. समझ आ रही मेरी बात? भाई मैं नहीं जा रहा उस naive Bayes की तरफ. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि मैं MCMC methods use करके जो बाज cases में बहुत अच्छे response दे देते हैं. In fact, I have seen Bayesian algorithms give very good results for very complicated problems. But at that time, I was surprised कि यार ये कैसे हो रहा है? It's a simple conditional probability का product है. ये कैसे इतना pattern पकड़ रहा है? मैं naive Bayes की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो अगर हम यहाँ पे ये काम करना शुरू कर दें, MCMC, तो we have to experiment with this and see के what is इसके अंदर कितना दम है. सही है? तो algorithms किस तरह चलेंगे वो हम will do that in the next class. Today, let's just see the basic concepts. Okay? Unlike Monte Carlo that draws independent samples from the distribution, The MCMC draws samples where the next sample is dependent on the existing sample. अब ये एक नया ट्विस्ट आ गया. वहां पर हम क्या कर रहे थे, पाए में हमने क्या किया, एवरी पॉइंट इज इंडिपेंडेंट. यहां जो हमने सैंपल किया था, ये जो एवरी पॉइंट इज इंडिपेंडेंट ऑफ ऑल द अदर पॉइंट्स. भाई मैं एक सैंपल निकाल रहा हूं, आई डोंट केयर मैंने पिछली बार क्या निकाला था, एंड आई डोंट केयर मैं अगली बार क्या निकालूंगा, आई डोंट केयर. All these points are sampled absolutely independently. सही है. Monte Carlo approximation के अंदर, Monte Carlo sampling में, the sampling is completely independent. I assume there is absolutely no link between any of these samples. लिंक तो मैं आगे खुद बना रहा हूँ ना, उनको सर्कल में डाल के और इक्वेशन से अप्रोक्सीमेट, तो मैं तो लिंक खुद बना रहा हूँ. सही है. बट in general the basic thing is कि उनका कोई आपस में लिंक नहीं. मॉन्टे कार्लो मार्कोव चेन ये अज्यूम करता है कि नहीं, there is a link. So if you have sampled something at time t equals to 0, then what you sample at time t equals to 1 is definitely going to be related to the thing that you sampled at t equals to 0. If you sample something at time t equals to 2, it is going to be related to the sample at time t equals to 1. बस एक पिछले टाइम स्टेप की डिपेंडेंसी है. सही है. समझ में आ गई बात की. इट्स पूरा पीछे नहीं जा रहा वो, जैसा कि हम टाइम सीरीज फोरकास्टिंग में करते थे, और फिर LSTM वगैरह जो डीप लर्निंग में आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें तो पूरी हिस्ट्री आ रही होती है. यू कैन हैव हंड्रेड्स ऑफ वेरिएबल्स इन द टाइम स्टैम्प. ठीक है. इन दिस केस आवर assumption इज नॉट दैट. हम सिर्फ ये अज्यूम करें, ठीक है भाई सैंपल करो मॉन्टे कार्लो से करो, बट द नेक्स्ट सैंपल विल डिपेंड ऑन द प्रीवियस वन. Now, just try to think why. How can that help me approximate the posterior? How can that help me approximate? और इसके अंदर सिनेरियो ये है, because you need to think in terms of machine learning. ठीक है. The scenario here is this: कि if I have this training data as before, so this is C1 and this is C2, data for both the classes separately. Now I'm sampling the points from these. Let's say I'm sampling the whole row. Some of the rows belong to class C1. They are going to have their own distribution. सही है. ये तो बात सही है ना, क्योंकि आपने लेबल क्यों लगाया उसको? अगर आपने लेबल लगा दिया है, what is your assumption? That the data for C1 has its own probability distribution and the data for C2 has its own probability distribution. तभी तो मैं डिस्टिंग्विश कर पा रहा हूं. अगर उनकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में डिफरेंस नहीं है तो फिर आपका लेबलिंग गलत है. अगर दोनों की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बिल्कुल सेम है तो आपकी लेबलिंग गलत है. The fact that you have labeled cats and dogs means the same thing. कि the distribution for the cats is different from the distribution of the cat. The distribution of fraudsters is different from the distribution of non-fraudsters. सही है. तो it is due to this concept that I'm able to apply Markov chain Monte Carlo. कि specifically Monte Carlo के sampling से मैं कर सकता हूँ, because Monte Carlo के लिए मेरी assumption क्या है? I want to approximate the PDF. So I can approximate a separate PDF for C1 and I can approximate a separate PDF for C2. It will be done. अच्छा, मुमकिन है कि वो Gaussian mixture बन जाए, लेकिन उनकी distribution individual they will be different. सही है. And it is basically due to this difference that I want to approximate this. Now my other question, ये बात समझ में आ गई? Is this thing clear? कि the data distribution for each class is going to be different from each other. ठीक है. Now my next question is कि why the Markov chain? चलो Markov chain को पहले देख लेते हैं. This allows the algorithms to narrow in on the quantity that is being approximated from the distribution, even with a large number of random variables. So no matter how many columns I have, if I am doing the Markov chain factor, okay, depend on the just previous timestamp, then it does not matter how many columns I have. सही है, क्योंकि सैंपल तो मैं सब पूरे रो का उठा रहा हूँ ना. My whole row becomes one sample, तो मुझे उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. मैं उसका लिंक, ये जो लिंकेज वाली बात है ना कि प्रीवियस वन, उसमें हमारा assumption क्या है कि if I am sampling from this region, I am sampling one row from this region and let's say I sample the next row also from this region. So इनका आपस में ताल्लुक इस हिसाब से होगा कि they belong to the same distribution. तो इस तरह जब मैं when I sample thousands of times, so these T01, T1 dependencies become converge, they converge. So all the dependencies for this will converge, and this will tell us that this is some pattern, and all the dependencies for this will converge, and this will tell us that this is some pattern. अभी जनरल लेवल पे इसको समझने की कोशिश करें, अभी ज़्यादा डिटेल में ना जाए, ठीक है? सो बस आखिर में अभी देख लेते हैं, आई नो कि आपके लिए थोड़ा सा मसला हो रहा है. So let's assume this example कि parameter of interest is just the average height. मैं machine learning को फिलहाल छोड़ दूं. Just take one variable which is the average height in inches. ठीक है? जब आप PDF interpret करते हैं, describe the parameter values and how likely they are. That's the cumulative distribution function or the density curve. In the Bayesian case, we're talking about beliefs. That's the word that we use in Bayesian maths. Okay, what is your belief about the system? सही है, तुम्हारा क्या बिलीफ है कि एवरेज हाइट 30 इंचेस होगी या 60 इंचेस होगी? इस बार तुम्हारा बिलीफ कितना है? जी मेरा 0.5 बिलीफ है. तो प्रोबेबिलिटी की हम बात नहीं करते, यकीन की बात करते हैं. यकीन जिसको कहते हैं ना, यकीन, कितना सर्टिट्यूड है आपको कि ये काम सही है, भाई इतना मेरा सर्टिट्यूड. It's not necessarily related to the concept of probability. For example, if this is the bell curve for the average height, so we are pretty sure that the value of the parameter is quite near zero, but we think there's an equal likelihood of the true value being above or below that point, that value up to a point. Okay, the mean value is apparently zero, but there is a chance that it could be more than zero and less than zero, or the mean height is zero, but there is a chance that it could be more than that and there's a less than that. तो हम इस तरह की बात करेंगे. We are not going to be talking about the exact probability. सही है? तो when I look at this curve, मैं क्या कहूँगा कि एवरेज हाइट कितनी? जीरो है. एवरेज हाइट इज जीरो, ठीक है, बट इट कुड बी लेस देन दैट. ये कैसे होता है यार? अच्छा, ये कोई और एग्जांपल है, बट इट्स नॉट अबाउट द हाइट, ठीक है, इट्स जस्ट द वे यू रीड इट, ठीक है. ओके, सो नाउ दिस इज द let's say we collect some data, observe a range of people between 5 inches and 6 inches, ठीक है. So here what is the, if the curve is like this, the probability is like this, so what can you say? The most likely average adult height is 6 feet 2 inches, because the most likely adult height is coming here, which is around 75 inches. 75 inches is 6 feet 2 inches, probably something like that. So that's pretty बहुत ज्यादा. आपने पता नहीं जिनों का सैंपल ले लिया, किसका सैंपल ले लिया, ठीक है. सो ये हमारा प्रायर हो गया, ठीक है. सो this is the prior, this is the likelihood. The likelihood I estimate directly from the data. Prior is the knowledge that I have already. ठीक है, तो it's just give an example. तो इस केस में जरा वजाहत कर सकते हैं आपके prior कैसे estimate होगा? अगर मैं if I go and collect some data and observe a range of people, मैं कुछ लोगों को देखूं, तो what will be the prior? How come this is the prior? Prior ये है कि जो मैं देख के I'm just looking at the people and then having a belief about it, ठीक है, कि जो मुझे नजर आ रहा है, उस नजर आने के मुताबिक जो है average height seems to be is like 6 feet 2 inches or something like that, और बाकी जो है वो इतनी probable नजर आ रही है मुझे. That's the prior distribution. If I estimate the likelihood, then I have the data, so I can estimate the likelihood function. The likelihood function is like this one. So what will be the likelihood here? I have to calculate the likelihood. It's a conditional probability, right? From the data that is given to me. So for each value, I have to calculate its likelihood value. The likelihood is also like a probability. So therefore, I'm able to plot this curve. तो जो मैंने जो height का sample लिया है, उससे जब मैं उन sample को use करके I find out the conditional with respect to the other values, so I can estimate this likelihood curve. कैसे निकलेगा ये? I find out the likelihood of each value, खत्म हो गई बात. So the values starting from 50 years to 75 years are likely, but below that and above that is not likely. Although मेरा prior मुझे कुछ और कह रहा है, prior तो मेरी अपनी expectation है by looking at the data. So that is something different. The exact likelihood is different. So likelihood का अपना एक formula होता है, so we can estimate the likelihood of each value of the age that we have. सही है, just consider that. So the likelihood is different from the prior, because likelihood is based on the exact data and prior is based on your expectation, or maybe the expected value or something like that. ठीक है, सही है, यहाँ तक clear है? हाँ, एक मिनट, okay. The distribution representing our beliefs about some parameter is called the prior distribution, जो कि already आपके beliefs को represent कर रहा है. Prior to seeing any data, ये भी एक बात आ गई कि ये जो ऑरेंज कर्व है ये आपके अपने एक्सपीरियंस पे आ रहा है कि आमतौर पे लोगों की हाइट इस तरह से होती है, तो आप उसको डेटा दें, वो आपकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन प्लॉट कर देगा. सही है, लेकिन if you sample, then from the sample you can estimate the likelihood, and that will be different from the prior. So the likelihood is always based on the sample, the data, or the prior is based not on the data. अब डेटा आपने देखा नहीं है, प्रायर पे आप बता दें बस. ठीक है, बस जस्ट एक दो स्लाइड हैं, we just finish this. So we just answer that what parameter value would make it most likely to observe the data we have observed. ये चीज बस आप ध्यान रखें कि what is the value, मेरे पैरामीटर की क्या वैल्यू होंगी जिसकी बेस के ऊपर ये डेटा मुझे मिला. That is what machine learning does as well. When you estimate the parameters in machine learning, वो जो आप रैंडम फॉरेस्ट में पैरामीटर चेंज करके देखते हैं, वो आप क्यों चेंज करके देखते हैं डिफरेंट एल्गोरिथम्स में? You are trying to find out कि which is the best parametric setting which will give me the best output that I want. So similarly यहाँ पर भी मेरा वही कॉन्सेप्ट है. ठीक है, so posterior tells us which parameter value, ये आंसर आपको posterior देगा. The posterior is going to tell you which parameter values maximize the chance of observing the particular data that we did. So the red one is the data that is going to maximize the chance of the data that you observe. अब इसमें सवाल ये रहा कि जी हमें प्रायर की जरूरत क्या है? That is because of the formula. उसकी बेस के ऊपर है. लेकिन अभी हम देखेंगे कि जब हम posterior को सैंपल करेंगे तो वो किस तरह से होता है, तो then you will understand it better. ठीक है, so prior, likelihood and that. ठीक है, ये इसको देख लेते हैं. This tells us prior is less sure about the true value of the average human height. Likelihood is a more sure guess, and the posterior is the absolutely sure guess कि भाई यही है जिससे तुम्हारा वो होगा. ठीक है, और अब यहाँ पर तो मामला बड़ा बच्चों वाला है कि जी वो सब गॉसियन है तो ठीक है. MCMC इस केस में आता है, बस ये आखिरी स्लाइड है आज की. MCMC इस केस के लिए आता है when you have a nasty prior, कि जब आपका prior की कोई shape या likelihood की shape is really something which is really odd, so things are not as simple as this one. ठीक है, then हम कहते हैं यार इनको छोड़ो और डायरेक्टली posterior को एस्टिमेट कर लो सैम्पलिंग के थ्रू. ये मामला तो गॉसियन नाइव बेस वाला मामला चल रहा है कि assuming everything follows the normal distribution, then this is very टिप टॉप है सब कुछ. ठीक है, लेकिन अगर ये वाला मामला है बस फिर वो हाँ, कभी गाड़ी यूं जा रही है, कभी यूं जा रही है, कभी यहाँ जा रही है, कभी यहाँ जा रही है, तो यहाँ पे आप वो काम नहीं कर सकते. सो इस केस में पोस्टीरियर को एक्वायर करने के लिए वी टेक द MCMC. ठीक है, तो स्टार्ट विद मार्कअप चेन्स इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. तो अभी आप लोगों को असाइनमेंट मिला हुआ है कोई?